Hi, folks. This is the legislative update for the week essentially here. We're going to start with some bills that were passed and how I voted on them. So we're going to start with the No Aid for Ghost Student Act, which is H.R. 7892. What we don't want to be doing is giving or continuing to give student aid to students that don't exist. So what happens is someone gets a fraudulent identity theft, and uses it to get student aid. And unbelievably, we really haven't cracked down on that. So since the federal government has taken over the vast majority of student loans, so this bill would actually do that. So we're no longer providing, federal money to people that aren't even students or don't even exist. Then we have the Stopping Fraudulent Payments Act, which is H.R. 8464, which prevents all federal agencies from issuing improper payments by granting them the authority to pause the disbursements. Up until this point, and we still have to see this get through the Senate, but currently, as long as they have a valid claim, so to speak, for a disbursement, it must be dispersed. And then if they find it's fraudulent, they have to go back after the fact and get the money and bring it back, which, as you can imagine, is difficult, especially when the money's gone and the agency, individual, entity that committed the fraud is also gone. So this would allow them to pause those disbursement if there's a red flag, which is appropriate. We need to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure the money goes to the right place. All right, the fraud prevention, so I voted yes on those two. Fraud Prevention and Accountability Act, which is H.R. 8312, I voted yes on that, and it establishes a permanent government-wide anti-fraud infrastructure. Right now, it's up to every agency. They each have their own kind of methodology and so on and so forth. We thought that it'd be better to have a structure for a general structure. It doesn't mean it couldn't be more stringent by agency, but for every agency, the minimum standard, so to speak. So we want to institutionalize fraud prevention and make sure that they have the minimum number of tools to do that kind of stuff. Again, to make sure that the money's going to the right place and not going, look, we're talking over the course of the government, over the course of a year, billions of dollars, if not tens to hundreds of billions of dollars in fraud. Remember, our budget is in the trillions. So it's a lot of money, and we could either not tax people as much or spend that money on other and better things. And then finally, the Condemning Fraudster, House Resolution 1335, Condemning Fraudsters. I voted yes on that. It just really just expresses from the Congress, from the House of Representatives, that fraud and improper payments present a risk to the nation's financial health. It's just a proclamation, doesn't do anything. It's just a statement that says we think this is bad. Fascinating to me is 177 of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle voted no, which just kind of gets to how things are difficult here to find some agreement on. When you can't even agree that fraud's bad just because it's bad, stealing is bad, it's hard to get a lot of other things done. So that was some of the bills. We had a deposition of Bill Gates, and we actually had a deposition of Jeffrey Epstein's number one secretary, so to speak. I mean, the person kind of handling a lot of his day-to-day activities. I felt like it was hard to believe that she didn't know something was up with the girls that she was managing, so to speak. So she would make sure that their rent, that Jeffrey Epstein paid for their rent. He got their credit cards. He provided their transportation, those kind of things, and would take loans out in their name. And she was aware of all that kind of, because she was right there. She was aware of that stuff. But she said over and over again, she didn't realize anything out of turn, out of regular business. I don't know any other business relationship with anybody that have those kind of provisions. And of course, many of the victims claims she was right outside the door when he was abusing them. And so I'm not saying that she would have known about that because according to them, there was a door in between them. But you would have thought she would have had some questions about the relationship that Jeffrey Epstein had with multiple young women at the same time, continuously over years. And And so I didn't find her testimony to be credible. However, we're going to wait to see if we can determine whether there are any falsehoods or lies in that. For Bill Gates, it seems pretty clear that Jeffrey Epstein attempted to blackmail him or extort him based on his relationship with women, outside of his marriage, and then having provided for him medications to deal with STDs and the collapse of his marriage because of all those things. It seems like that Mr. Gates was generally forthcoming. He came in without a subpoena, so that's good, and seemed to want to provide information on Epstein. He did say that he had no idea about the claims regarding Epstein and the abuse of the many women and so on and so forth. We don't have any proof, and there really is no allegation that Bill Gates ever visited Mr. Epstein's private island. But it does appear that Mr. Epstein did try to extort Bill Gates. So that's what I got out of that. We did pass on the reconciliation, a reconciliation bill we passed, which was called the Secure America Act. You can look it up, Secure America Act 214-212. And that funds immigrations and customs enforcement and border security. If you remember, our colleagues on the other side of the aisle refused to fund any of that, anything in those two agencies. And so those people were working either without pay or with pay from somewhere else now for months and months and months. We finally were able to pass that when the Senate sent it to us at the beginning of the week. So that is now done. We just voted on a extension of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. As you know, I've talked about this. I have voted no on that in the past. We are making progress. I have voted no because it has been abused. The Foreign Intelligence Services have used that to spy on Americans without a warrant, and I don't agree with that. So we are working towards a solution to that, but at the same time, we also use that to spy on foreigners and keep America safe. We've got the FIFA World Cup going on right now, which brings in tens of thousands of foreigners, including Iranians, into the United States of America, not to mention the millions of people that came across the border, including terrorists during the Biden presidency. So while we work on solutions, I thought it was the prudent and responsible thing to do to say, okay, as long as we're making headway on these revisions and reforms, we'll give you another couple weeks while we try and work it out. They could not get it done in the Senate, so I went ahead with some reluctance and voted yes, but as long as they were sincerely working towards reform, I thought that was the responsible thing to do. So that's FISA. And then finally, I introduced two surrogacy bills. We had a press conference on it, you might have seen, but I want to just kind of inform you about them. They are H.R. 9131, the Protecting Kids from Creeps Act, and H.R. 9132, the Preventing International Surrogacy Exploitation Act. I don't know whether you know this or not. Unfortunately, in Pennsylvania, we had two gentlemen, one which is a sex offender, receive a child or buy a child or pay for a child through surrogacy. And while the sex offender requirements in Pennsylvania wouldn't allow the offender to adopt a child, there's nothing in the law that says they can't have a surrogate child, or that individual can't get and obtain a surrogate child. I don't think that's in the best interest of the children and this child, and so we're offering legislation to make sure that that can never happen again. And then on the international side, unfortunately, this is why everybody has to abuse, or somebody has to abuse every good program or every program that's out there. We literally have not only Chinese, but predominantly Chinese, but we have this international surrogacy birth tourism trade where people from foreign countries pay to buy babies in the United States of America. So you think about that, that baby has a United States American citizenship, and they're immediately taken out of the country, and they're brought up, they're raised outside the country, but they have citizenship. They could come back to the United States of America at any time. We don't know what their allegiance is to the United States of America. Likely it's not to the United States. And they can also apply for then citizenship for their non-American parents because they are citizens. And so that's the kind of the national security component of it. But on just the face of it, the immorality and quite honestly, just the horror of literally buying children, which is what's happening. They are buying children, foreigners coming to the United States of America. There's apparently a mansion or a big house in California where these people come up through essentially a drive-through. They've never even met this child. They don't even know the surrogate mother. They just take the child, they pick up the child and take them back to China with them. We have 2 instances, at least 2, of one Chinese man who's bought 100 children and another one who's bought up to 200 children. That's almost words don't describe the horror of what might be happening to those children right now. And one of these individuals said he wanted to buy these children, all girls, and once they are of age, then sell them or marry them up to high-placed officials in his government. It's just it's absolutely outrageous. And believe it or not, there's no prohibition on this right now. So we thought, as soon as we learned about it, we would offer that. And so those bills are out there. We are seeking co-sponsors right now, have a lot of positive and great reaction. We would like to get them to the floor yet this year and end this barbaric practice, whether it's for child offenders or whether it's for international surrogacy and birth tourism. So that's the update. Did I miss anything? Nope. That's the update for this week. And I hope you're enjoying your summer. And we'll see you the next time we come back into session. God bless you.